So 2023 was the first year that I ever made more than $100,000. And I did this while living and working as a digital nomad in 5 different countries. But after going all in on business and Bitcoin in 2023, I just lost so much money that I might actually have to move back to my home country of Australia that I escaped from exactly 2 years ago to the day on February 13th, 2022. So today I'm going to be revealing what happened to me in 2023 and how I scaled my online business from 1 revenue stream to 8 in under 160 days, and how I lost 4 of those clients in 21 days to end 2023. I'm also going to be explaining what it was like building businesses online while traveling to 15 different countries and 40 cities, and I'm going to be exposing what my biggest mistakes were so that hopefully you guys can learn from those mistakes and create money online in a more successful and sustainable manner than I did. So to explain exactly what happened to me in 2023, I've put together this chart here that has 3 pieces of pretty personal and pretty crucial information. It's going to show you the number of clients that I had each month. It's showing you the number of employees that I was managing each month. And it's also showing you the amount of money I was making each month. Now, again, I heavily debated making this video or not. I'm not really a personal guy, and I really don't try to share much about my life online, but I'm making this because I think a lot of people could be in a similar position to me, or there's a lot of people who could learn from this video. And I've been asked by a lot of people to make it for a long time, so here it is. And out of respect to some of my current clients and former clients that I was working for, I've blurred out their names. So let's get straight into this. At the very beginning of 2023, I landed my absolute dream job, and that was to create content full-time for a Bitcoin-only educational company. I was absolutely over the moon with this. This included making videos for this company on a platform like YouTube that I've never really gone all in on. Okay, I started this channel in 2020, but despite making videos on and off for 3 years, I'd had no success on YouTube. I'd encourage you to go back and watch those old videos that I made in 2020. They were absolutely terrible. They were really bad. I'll leave them up there for you guys to get a giggle out of, and maybe for myself a little bit as well. It does show maybe my videos have improved slightly since 2020, but I did feel primed for this opportunity in early 2023. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to work for the best in the business in YouTube in 2021 and 2022. That was because I was fortunate enough to be working with Mark Moss full time. And for anyone who doesn't know Mark, he's an absolute legend. He has a brilliant YouTube channel, and I was essentially hand trained on how to write YouTube scripts, research YouTube videos, write emails, Twitter threads, all of the jazz. And it goes without saying, this was the greatest opportunity of my life. It was the thing that allowed me to escape Australia, okay? In 2021, I couldn't leave the country because of my medical status, unless I actually had an employer overseas who would write a letter to actually say, hey, look, I need Luke out of the country for work. Okay, that's how wild things were in Australia in 2021. You could not leave the country for a holiday if you had my medical status. So as soon as those international borders opened up in early February 2022, I was on essentially the first flight out of Australia, heading straight to Cancun, Mexico. Now, a little bit of disclaimer, I'd never traveled overseas before in my life. Never, okay? I was 24 and I'd never been overseas. So I didn't know what to expect, and this was not a holiday for me. I was leaving Australia and never, ever going back. So I had to pack up absolutely everything. I had to leave all of my friends behind. I had to leave my dog behind. I even had to close down the business that I was running in Australia. I had a little personal training business, and I'd sunk a lot of money into turning the little rental property that I was renting on the Gold Coast into a home gym that I would train my clients out of. So it was an enormously difficult decision to move from Australia to Mexico. And then there was the added pressure from friends who would say, Luke, if you're moving to Mexico, you're going to get shot. It is so dangerous over there in Mexico. Oh, there's no way you're going to survive over there. And obviously I was frightened when people told me that. People who had actually traveled overseas before, saying that to someone like myself who'd never traveled before, I was petrified. And I do a little bit of Googling, and Google would reinforce this message. They'd say, oh, don't live in Mexico, one of the most dangerous countries in the world. So I was scared, not going to lie. I was absolutely petrified, but I did it. And working with Mark gave me this opportunity to not only leave Australia, but learn so much about YouTube, but also learn an absolute lifetime of wisdom when it comes to growing social medias and growth hacking. And I even got the opportunity to meet Mike Tyson in Southern California one day. So the opportunity was brilliant, and I really did feel ready for taking on this full-time role, creating content for a Bitcoin educational company. So it really goes without saying that this job was the dream job, but there was only one problem. It's very expensive to live on that side of the world, and I was essentially burning through my savings. And as you can see, I only had about $1,000 in my quote unquote emergency fund that I like to have aside from my Bitcoin cold storage, which is money I plan to not spend for literally decades. And obviously, I was a little bit on edge about this. $1,000 in your emergency fund is not much when you're a nomad, when flights are $500 or $1,000. So then this opportunity to take on this new role, creating Bitcoin content for a educational company, was a dream come true for me. I was getting paid a little bit more, but with that came added pressure. For those past 2 years that I first started working online, I was working behind the scenes. I was writing scripts for the YouTube channel. I was writing the Twitter threads. I was doing some ghostwriting, but I wasn't actually on camera. Okay. I felt pretty comfortable writing this stuff, but actually being the face on camera when your wage and salary and livelihood depends on it, that is a completely different animal. It's a completely different beast. It is very difficult. Okay. I'm not comfortable on cameras, to be entirely honest with you guys. It took me a long time to be comfortable with it. And then there is the beast of YouTube. YouTube is one of the biggest rabbit holes I've ever encountered. There is so much to YouTube: titles, thumbnails, retention graphs, average view duration, end screen elements. How do you make a successful YouTube video? It's very difficult. And I spent absolutely months going deep down the YouTube rabbit hole, learning as much as I could from people like Mr. Beast, Ryan Trahan, and people like Ali Abdul, who have all built, millions of followers on YouTube. And again, I had absolutely no backup plan. So aside from cutting all ties to Australia, even if I go back to Australia, I've got nowhere to stay. So I've been homeless since I was 16, haven't talked to my family in 9 years. That could be a story for another video if you guys want me to tell that story. But I would be couch searching once again in Australia, being homeless like I was when I was 16 again. So I had a lot of pressure, and I had a lofty target to hit. I had to get this YouTube channel to 5 to 10,000 subscribers in the first year. I've never done that before, but that was something I said I'm pretty sure I could do. And it wasn't until about 6 months of working full time on trying to grow this YouTube channel that I actually started slowly seeing success. And this was largely due to the opportunity that I had to live with my good buddy, Josh. If you don't know Josh today, you're going to in a few years' time. He's one of the people I can confidently say is probably going to be one of the youngest billionaires in the world, okay? He's been working full-time with George Gammon on his YouTube channel for the past 2 or 3 years now, and he's already working with an actual billionaire, Ken McElroy, on his YouTube channel. So we live together full-time in Colombia, Medellin. So we just used to essentially geek out about YouTube all day, every day for about 6 months. And in that 6 months in Colombia, I got the opportunity to meet George Gammon on a number of occasions and become great friends with him. And he's obviously an absolute master at YouTube. So I was just surrounded by a YouTube masterclass in Colombia. And I slowly and surely started growing this YouTube channel at a rate that started to be noticed by other people. And they kind of said, hey, Luke, you're growing this YouTube channel. Do you reckon you could help me do the same? And I was a little bit taken aback at this because I'm a nobody. Why would anybody ask me for advice? But I was absolutely shocked. People would actually pay me money for me to just share everything I've learned about YouTube over the past 3 years. So I started doing this. I started actually taking on clients. And one of the first people I worked with, we 10x their results in literally a month. The first video we did was literally like a 15x improvement. So we improved Sean's views by literally 10x. So when I did this for Sean, word spread and other people started approaching me to hopefully do the same. So then I started working with Brandon and we did the same thing. We 15x'd his views in under a month. And then things just kept snowballing, snowballing, and snowballing. And then at the same time, we were kind of doing well on YouTube. Something similar started happening on Twitter. So I write a lot of Twitter threads. I think they're an absolutely great way to actually present very complex topics in a digestible fashion to new people who might not read a 1,000-word newsletter or a very long essay or an article. But if you can execute on a Twitter thread, you can actually make it very digestible and open that kind of very complex topic up to being presentable to a larger audience. So when I started writing more Twitter threads, I got approached by other companies and other people asking me, hey, Luke, will you do some ghostwriting for us? So at the time, again, I was just taking on absolutely any opportunity I could get my hands on. Again, I've been homeless since I was 16. I've been slowly trying to save as much money as I can for the past 10 years. I have a very kind of scarcity mindset. I'm not sure if that's the correct way to frame it, but I'd never really made more than 5 figures of income a year in my entire life. I've always been grinding very, very hard. So to have all of these opportunities come at once, I couldn't say no. So I started writing Twitter threads for other companies, as well as doing all the work on YouTube we were doing. And we had a little bit of success on Twitter as well. So I grew the Twitter account for Bitcoin Culture from 2,000 followers to 11,000 in under 90 days. Did the same thing for another Bitcoin company, grew them from 1K to 7K in about 80 days as well. And when you start doing this, more and more companies start reaching out. And again, I couldn't say no. But this is when things really started deteriorating and things started to go wrong. So at the time, you can see by the chart, we had about 8 different clients. And at the time, I was trying to juggle 15 different employees. Okay, it is a nightmare trying to manage a team of editors in the Philippines. I had thread writers in Canada, in America, in Australia. You have like 4 different time zones trying to take account for, and I didn't have a manager. So I was doing it all myself. Pam and myself were working literally probably 14 hours a day, every single day. We were making more money than I've ever dreamed of making, and we were living in cheap countries. Do you know how cheap it is living in Colombia or Argentina or Brazil? It's literally like 60 to 70% cheaper than the Western world. So things were great, but we were working way too hard. I was spreading myself far too thin. I was getting out of shape a little bit in 2023 just from working so damn hard. And this is when I kind of made the tough decision to narrow my focus a little bit. So I narrowed my focus on 2 to 3 different Bitcoin companies. And I thought, okay, I'm going to really just try to do my best for them. So it was an amazing feeling to have the ability to kind of pick and choose and really focus our energy on just a couple of clients. Okay, we had the time to finally do things. We always obviously made the time to do things like see the major landmarks in each country that we would go to, but it was nice to have a little bit of extra time, and instead of working 14 hours a day, just work 12 hours a day. But there was a little problem with that choice or decision that we did make. Again, every decision has trade-offs, but at that stage, about 80% of the income that we were making was coming from 2 to 3 revenue streams. And at the end of the year, things change. Typically, that's when companies rethink things and they reevaluate their business models. And the 2 to 3 companies that were paying us at least probably 80% of the income we had, they said, look, Luke, things are a little bit tight at the moment. Essentially, you're fired.
You are fired! You're fired, you goddamn!
Now, they didn't say those exact words. I'm on very, very good terms with all of the companies that I've worked for in 2022 and 2023, okay? But if I had to actually put some numbers on how much money I lost, it's in the 6 figures on a yearly revenue basis. And that all happened literally in the space of about 20 days at the end of 2023. So this has obviously changed a lot of things for myself. Obviously, it makes you reevaluate things. Like, I'm making this video almost as like a little bit of an accountability check. I normally at the end of every year do sit down and write down, my major achievements, so to say, and goals for the next year, just to kind of make sure that I actually am progressing. Okay, we literally only get one life. I want to make the most of it. That's just how I look at things. So again, I've had to kind of reevaluate many things after losing all of these jobs, and I'm going to have to make some changes. And this obviously came at possibly the worst time. Just after I'd gone Christmas shopping, you obviously think, okay, I can spend X amount because I'm making X amount. And then to be told that 80% of your revenue is essentially gone in 2 weeks, it's a big shock. Okay, so I'm gonna have to change some things. So am I worried about 2024? Am I gonna have to flee back to Australia and once again start couch surfing on my friends' couches, or living in the vans like I used to live in way back in like 2018 when I was trying to save money to buy more Bitcoin? Well, no. To be quite honest, I have always loved to take on risks. Okay, I'm going to be taking on some even bigger risks in 2024. I'm going to talk about all of that in a moment, but I just wanted to quickly take the opportunity to say, look, if you have some big plans for the future, just jump, take it. Okay, things can be scary. Please, for the love of God, take a risk. Okay, I was obviously very comfortable in Australia in 2021. I had my personal training business. I was living on the Gold Coast, beautiful weather. I was living in a big house with a bunch of friends. I had a dog. Life was absolutely great. And obviously 2020 absolutely changed everything for myself. It woke me up to what's actually happening in the world. And it really opened up this perspective that taught me that you're going to have to find yourself online revenue streams in the future. Okay, every single business, it's all been digitized. I know things can be scary. Change is scary. Humans don't like change. You don't have to move from Australia to the other side of the world, but please take a risk. You only live once. You have 28,000 days, and you literally have the greatest opportunity in the history of humankind. Okay, how crazy is it that I can grab the little device I found at my phone? How crazy is it that you can literally talk to anyone on the other side of the world with this internet connected device? You can learn absolutely anything you want to learn. Okay, everything in society is being digitized. And I think every single business, every single person will eventually have to have some sort of online income stream, especially as AI continues to accelerate and get better and better. Okay, it's going to take a lot of jobs. By any estimation you want to look at, we can see that AI is just eating away at the physical labor force. So you're going to have to learn to make money online. Okay, it's not as hard as you think. If you do need help with it, reach out. I can help you with any of that. Okay, but now let's get into 2024. Well, I'm trying to learn from my mistakes of 2023. Okay, yes, I had a lot of employees in 2023. I had about 15 at one stage, but I didn't have the systems in place to manage that team most efficiently. So I've already started building out a better team, a better organizational strategy, getting ready for 2024. I anticipate 2024 is probably going to be an even busier year for myself than 2023. I have a lot of things lined up that you're probably going to learn about here on the YouTube channel, especially being in the niche that I'm in, which is the Bitcoin space. As the price of Bitcoin goes up, like it will over the next 12 to 18 months around this Bitcoin halving, the demand for social media growth people, so to say, for Bitcoin companies is going to rise exponentially. So I'm preparing for that. I'm hiring a team. I'm preparing myself. So I'm going to be scaling harder. I'm going to be making more content for you guys here on YouTube, okay? I've really not put any time or effort into this YouTube channel, so I'm going to be making more videos for you guys. Alex and myself are also going to be making more of these puppies over at the Bitcoin Times. We just released the Energy Edition. We have massive plans for Edition 7. We're not going to reveal what we're focusing on this year, but stay tuned because we are going to continue making what we believe is the highest quality Bitcoin collectible magazine there is. Okay, again, there's only 2,100 copies of each yearly edition printed. So if you want to get your hands on one, check out the link in the description of today's video. So am I worried about 2024? Am I going to be homeless again? Well, I'm personally not worried, okay? I'm confident in my ability to find jobs online, okay? I've worked multiple jobs since I was 13. I love working hard, especially when it's aligned with my values, and that's specifically in the Bitcoin space. I feel like I am working, trying to accelerate something good in the world. So I'm very confident that I can find new jobs, and I'm always being approached nearly, let's say on a weekly basis, about new opportunities. So I am in a very fortunate position. And even if a worst case situation were to manifest itself, I still wouldn't be worried, okay? You can live very comfortably on $2,000 a month in Argentina or Colombia. And even on something like $2,000 a month, you can live very nicely, okay? That $2,000 a month in Colombia or Argentina is like the equivalent of maybe making $5 or $6 or $7,000 in America. And that is all because of just how cheap everything is in these countries like Argentina and Colombia, okay? There is a reason that I am on a mission to potentially become an Argentinian citizen one day in the future. That's probably a story for another video, but if you do want to learn how cheap it is in Argentina, check out the video right there. And if you do want to learn a little bit more about what I'm doing and what Pamela and myself are doing personally, traveling the world, trying to scale our online businesses while being nomads, we have recently created a YouTube channel focused specifically on business and travel. I'm going to link to a recent video we did right about there. And with all that said, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this one. This is a very different video, well out of my depth and wheelhouse, so to say. So I'm eager to hear what you guys think about it. I'll see you in the next one.